And I avoided the layoffs every time. And you can only take so long of, hey Jim, you did really great this year. We don't have any bonuses for you.
Right.
We don't have a raise for you, but you're not getting laid off.
Right.
And so for a while I was dual career. We were running the the farm, even breeding goats and milking goats and all that, along with running the full-time job through corporate and real estate full-time.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Bits by Bacon. I am your host, Misty Bacon Renner with Bacon Realty Group, and today I have the privilege to introduce Jim Atkinson. He's a seasoned broker associate with Hidden Paradise Realty Team at UTR-Texas Realtors and the owner of Texas Real Estate Continuing Education, as well as a transaction company that helps keep running smooth behind the scenes. Jim brings a wealth of experience from both education and operations side of real estate, along with his wife, Becky, who is also a realtor.
Yep.
They own a small farm where they hatch, raise, and sell heritage and specialty breeds of chickens, turkeys, and guineas, as well as fresh farm eggs. This is going to be an amazing and fun conversation. But thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, that was a mouthful.
It was, but I didn't want to miss anything because you have all these amazing things. First, tell me about how you got into real estate. So you were in the telecommunications industry for some years.
Oh, yeah, 20 something years. Yeah.
20, yes. So how transition into real estate? What does that look like?
Real estate was something I was always interested in, and the realtor, when we lived up in Dallas, Fort Worth, that my wife had always used, had always told me, nah, you don't want to do this. It's too up and down. And back at that time, it did make sense not to do it because we had kids at home, we needed insurance and those kind of things. So I stayed in corporate.
Gotcha.
Whenever we had moved down here, down in the Houston area, down in Dickinson where we're at now, and I worked from home even for corporate, and just finally was like, it's maybe time to look into getting that license. The kids had moved out and things like that. And also with all the changes in telecommunication over the years, we went from, I think it was around 35,000 employees with AT&T, Avaya, Lucent, depending on the company I was with at the time, because we kept merging and migrating.
Right.
And we were down to about 3,500.
Wow.
And I avoided the layoffs every time. And you can only take so long of, hey Jim, you did really great this year. We don't have any bonuses for you.
Right.
We don't have a raise for you, but you're not getting laid off.
Right.
And so for a while I was dual career. We were running the farm, even breeding goats and milking goats and all that, along with running the full-time job through corporate and real estate full-time.
Wow.
And it was about 8 months of that where real estate got to pick up a little bit more because I'd already been licensed, obviously, and I enjoyed it so much more. And I remember leaving a showing one day and calling my wife, and I was driving down the highway, and I'm like, no, I've got to make a decision, and this is it.
No, I love it.
And
That's
so
awesome.
left the corporate job and kind of surprised them that I was leaving. Yeah.
And then how did you come about your own team? Did you have your own team before you got your broker's license?
Yeah. So I'd had my own team for a while, and our team size has been larger, smaller. I think I like the smaller a little better, but it's just something that I've always felt driven more towards leadership roles, and I like sharing knowledge that I have, and if I can help someone else bolster what they do and anything else, then hey, that's great. Also, I can learn from people that are on the team as well, and bring in some of those people and those personalities and skills that I don't particularly carry, because we all have different personalities, and one realtor doesn't fit all, right?
So your title, you were in telecommunications, you were a negotiation specialist, right? Was that correct?
I did a lot of negotiation whenever I was on the program project management side, as far as system installs and timelines, things like that. Really, I did a lot more property management. No, that's a totally different thing.
It is.
Program and project management in telecommunications, as far as, like I say, build out, system install. So we were managing budgets, deliverables, timelines, those same things we deal with in real estate. Also did programming, a lot of customer service, did a lot in telecommunications that I bring into this industry as well.
No, I love it. You are very detailed. I've been to several of your classes and I love that. Speaking of classes, how did you transition into now you have this real estate school as well?
Anyone that knows me knows that there's never enough and there's sometimes never too much, but it gets overwhelming. So I like to fill my time, and I like to fill my time with valuable things. Sometimes it's relaxation, meaning weeding the garden or feeding animals. Other times it's going out and teaching classes. In corporate, I did some education in the corporate world, and it's just something I've always loved and decided. I talked to someone one day, found out what I needed to do. I eventually branched off, started my own school. And I think that education in our industry is sometimes underdeveloped and underdelivered. So I
Right.
like to bring in what I have, what I can bring, but also educate other instructors, bring them in on subjects they can be. And in a classroom, not only am I reading those contracts and understanding the changes and having to stay up to date, I'm getting to educate other people, but also learn about where their gaps are, where
Right.
their understanding on certain ways that we use contracts and everything are as well. It's exciting. It energizes me to be in a
I
classroom.
and I like the in person. I know you do some hybrid where you can do online and or in person. I enjoy the in person because you're sharing stories. I've had my
Yeah.
license since 2007 and been doing it full time since 2013, and I really enjoy the interaction, the stories, the conversation, and then even later, either me making an offer on one of their properties that I've had classes with,
Hmm.
because then you know them, and that changes the whole deal. I feel like even from the beginning of negotiations is if you already know them, you
Oh
already
yeah, I
have a
definitely
relationship with them.
definitely leverage that as much as possible, and even mention in the classroom. It's, you may not know me now, but if you ever see a contract come from me and we're in a multiple offer situation, maybe you'll pick mine because I know my contracts, know I'm sending you good data, and it should be a smooth and easy transaction if
Right.
nothing else, especially if everything else is equal. We use everything we can to leverage for our clients in real estate. And I definitely like to do that as well. But then I also get to learn personalities, and somebody in the classroom that I may have never done a deal with, I might already know their personality
Hmm.
and know how to either not really gain some advantage, but know how to leverage my offer more towards them, but also know how
Sure.
they're going to possibly react in certain situations and how
Right.
they're going to look out for their client. So it
Absolutely.
definitely a win-win all around.
I think so. And to communicate, I think to me, communication is the biggest piece of the puzzle because like no is not an option for me. We have to get to everybody's threshold, like whether it's you're the buyer or the seller, what is your threshold? And anything could be overcome as long as people are open and willing to negotiate. Now, it
Absolutely.
doesn't always work in our favor, but I feel like it could because I know for sure you and I and others that have been through your training and or that we do business with we are open-minded to try to figure this out and not just be. I feel like I have run across some agents that are like, there's no room for you. I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm better than you. I've been in
Yeah,
it longer than you, whatever.
it's a fine line we've got to walk sometimes because we're a fiduciary for our client and have to look out for our client's best interest. And sometimes in our client's best interest, it's working with you to find the win-win. Maybe they're not going to get the best deal. Everybody's not going to get the best deal. But if
Right.
we can find an acceptable deal that's a win-win for both parties,
Right.
that's it,
Absolutely. Yeah. I think at one point our profession was compared to a used car salesman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, we are changing that. I know that there are a lot of agents out there that are serious about this as a career and not just a side gig or a hobby or helping friends and family. What does your portfolio look like? Do you mostly do referrals? Do you work by you pay for leads? What is your flow for your team?
We've done a lot of things throughout the years. We've done buy leads, stuff like that. In our current environment, online leads and all really aren't as fruitful. When I look at, because I also track data, I used to build databases, so we have a custom tool that we built out. I can go back the last 8, 10 years in real estate and see where our leads came from, what else we generated out of that from referrals and all. And the majority of my team, no matter how many leads we generate, either open houses or online or anything else, the majority of our closed business comes from those past clients, those referrals, those family members, types of things, because those are people that already trust you and it
Right.
makes a difference, especially on the referrals. That helps a lot
Right.
too.
So what does your marketing regimen look like then for if you're handling your sphere, which is 99% of my business is referral as well. What do you do to stay in touch of your sphere to get them to refer you business?
Yeah, so stay in touch with them. I remember early on in real estate, there was a friend of mine that had bought a house from someone else. And when they went to sell, they of course used me. We had gotten to know each other through chickens. And he said, yeah, he would occasionally get an email from her, and it was just a follow up. So I learned it's like you don't just send an email and plan on that being the way that they're going to remember you. I know other people that I had talked to early on when I did a lot of lead gen because my sphere wasn't down here. I would call and I would ask them sometimes, it's like, okay, you bought that house X amount of years ago, and I could see who they bought it through. And I'm like, why didn't you call them back? And that could have been a double-edged sword because they could have said, oh, you're right, click, hang up and call them. But instead they're like, oh, I don't even remember who they were. So I heard that and took that to heart. So I try and stay in touch with my clients. We need to do more client appreciation, and every year we set a goal to do more. We do typically one major event every year, and that's our Santa photos. We've been doing that for a couple of years now. Even though that people don't come out, we make sure they're invited. We make multiple touch points to do that. We also will reach out on a regular basis. We have email drip campaigns automated and stuff like that. But we know the clients that are generating business for us that are genuinely looking out for us, and we want to look out for them as well. And so those we may do a little bit more. We may set up a lunch or a coffee, or at least invite them, even if they don't come out. A lot of people just feel so much value in being invited. It's not whether they come or not. It's just being included. Everybody wants to be included in everything, right?
Correct. Everyone wants to be appreciated and or remembered.
Yeah. And
Not that it's a transaction and then it's over, and I'm not that person. I am not like, as a matter of fact, if it is a referral and we're not already friends, but say it's the brother of my client, I go through a withdrawal when the closing is over and they don't invite me to birthday parties and events and things, because that's my life is like, after the closing and or during the closing, we're going to birthday parties and weddings and helping them do things. And so, those clients that don't want that relationship afterwards, I'm kind of like, oh, okay.
I know. I feel like, what happened? I thought we were friends.
I know. In your life every day for 90 days, and then it's like nothing.
And occasionally with those clients that we didn't know we knew, I was showing houses, it was like 2 months ago. They've been in my system for, I don't know, a year and a half looking at homes, and they finally reached out. They're ready to do something. And so she was hesitant, didn't want to sign that long-term buyer's rep, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so I said, that's fine. Let's meet at the house. We got to have this paperwork signed before we go in due to our new rules, regulations, and all. And so we agreed on a 2-week. And typically I don't do a 2-week buyer rep agreement, but I'm like, you know what? We're here. Let's just go ahead and do it. She finally asked me, she says, you look familiar. And I'm like, okay. And so after talking for a minute while I'm still unlocking the door, you sold my son his house. Oh. I met her one time. I think they were moving in and I was bringing over something. I was bringing over their welcome gift. And she happened to be there and we met for half a second. But through all that, I stay in touch with my clients. I reach out to them even if they don't reach back out to me.
Right.
I found out the son and daughter-in-law had just had a baby. They also had just gotten married like a year prior. So I missed 2 major events in their life. And I know that they get my Santa photo invites and all that immediately. I don't know what they need for the baby. I don't know what they need for the wedding or anything, but let's jump on Amazon. I reached out and said, hey, I just talked to your mom, found out y'all had a baby. You didn't tell me what's going on. And they were one of my past chicken customers too. That's how we had initially connected. And through finding all that out, I was able to verify and update her email, asked if she changed her last name. Some people don't. She didn't. And so we updated all that. And then I went on Amazon real quick, did an Amazon e-gift card, happy wedding, kind of late, and happy congratulations on the new baby. Aww. And the moms reached out several times, and she's like, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, I can't believe they didn't tell me. And it's those people, you look at houses you feel so involved with their family, and like, you're not just their realtor. Right. You're part of their family. Right. And that's what we feel. And they don't always feel that. And that's okay. But
it is interesting because I've had people close to me, like a very dear friend or even family, that I'm like, okay, cool. They just sold their house that I helped them buy a few years ago. And then some of them, they want to call with questions. And I'm like, you need to call your realtor because they have the intimate details of your transaction. And I don't want to give you misinformation. I don't have all the facts.
That's right.
Yeah. okay, you have a transaction company as well, and I'm assuming you started doing your own transactions, but now you've branched out to working with other realtors as well. How is that going? What does that look like?
Yeah, we're still early soft launching that because we're waiting on my daughter to finish getting her license, who will jump more into that. She used to do the transaction work for our team and had left for a while. When she came back, I said, look, I've already paid for your license, so until you get your license, you're not touching transactions, as an encouragement.
Sure.
Encouragement. When she had originally left, we realized I had something that I absolutely hate, and that is coming from telecommunications. You do not want a single point of failure. You need redundancy built in everything.
Right.
And I did not have redundancy built into my transaction management because I only had one person handling it for our team. We looked at outside companies. I'm all good with outsourcing in certain things, but I'm also a control freak on other things. I like to make sure the details are handled. And so if we had outsourced and hired another company to do the transaction work, there was still so much internal stuff we'd have to do to replicate because of the systems and tools that we use that I find are valuable. So I said, you know what, let's do this. Let's separate that. Let's put that as its own entity under the LLC. It's no longer part of the team structure. It's its own entity. And we will build that out and offer those services to other agents that might want to use those services. And so by doing that, we're able to have a couple of people handling transactions and hopefully more later on, but no longer have that single point of failure, which drove me nuts once I realized I had it. So.
Gotcha. And I would encourage agents that are out there that are not using a transaction manager to use one. I see younger or newer agents that come in that are using a transaction coordinator, and I think some of the brokerages require them to, which is great.
It's another set of eyes on your contracts.
It is, as long as you're reading the contract. Like I did worry about that. Some companies that they force you to use a transaction coordinator and you're just sending them the details and then you're never looking at it. You're trusting that they're sending the correct information on your behalf. I did worry about that because it's okay. I don't want to lose like what's on page 6, what's in paragraph 4. I didn't want to lose that piece of it, but that's what staying connected and still
and I look at
everything.
our transaction management as more behind the scenes. It's an administrative staff for you. I very rarely will allow them to send anything out on anybody's behalf because as the agent, that's your client, your customer. You're not customer, your client. And you have that obligation to ensure that everything they're getting out to them is correct. And so if something's wrong, it's going to fall on you, right?
Right.
So we want to make sure everything's correct. And not only did we misunderstand you, did we understand you correctly? Because there's so many things. Even Bev, as long as she's worked for me, there's times where I did not understand that. I think you left some details in your head, and I probably did. So it's good that you have those extra eyes and everything. And that's one requirement that we have, and it's in our agreement. We're not going to send things out on your behalf generally.
Okay, let's talk about some fun stuff real quick. So I love seeing your posts on, you have, I forgot what it was now. It wasn't papaya. You had something other than just eggs that you were selling. Tell me.
I think with papaya, I was like, somebody please take some because they're all ripe. I can't eat them all because winter is coming. Yeah, we grow a lot. So ever since I was a young child, have loved plants. I got my first plant in kindergarten. I'll never forget, we were at the Riesel Fair. Riesel, Texas it's not as small as it used to be, near Waco. So we're at the fair, and there was a thing where you got a ticket and you got to grab a rock out of a bucket of sand. And the rock I pulled wouldn't be a plant. It was a little mother-in-law's tongue. I still have parts of that plant today.
Wow.
And I'm kind of old if you can't tell. So I've always had a love for plants and anything I can grow. I love self-sufficiency. I don't live off of self-sufficiency, but I can grow just about anything I want to. We do freeze drying of food, candy, stuff like that as well. But I just love growing things and seeing what they can turn into, taking this little bitty seed and turning it into a whole shelf of canned goods.
Yes, I love that.
It's amazing.
That's cool. My husband's aunt gave me a sourdough starter in January when we went on that cruise. And I've been taking care of it ever since. And then I'm learning my recipe. I've rushed it
Yeah.
and it was more dense. And so now I'm learning, like, let the yeast rise, and then after you blend everything, let it rise, and then knead it, and then let it rise. And anyway, my best batch, my mom was like, this was your best batch. So I'm learning to not rush it. So yeah,
Yeah. I
I'm
had some
still learning.
sourdough starter back in the 90s, and I see this trend now, and I'm like, it is more work to take care of sourdough starter than it is a kid sometimes.
And there's so much mixed things out there. People are like, because I was only feeding my starter like every couple of days, but it was okay back because it was colder out. Now it's hotter out. I've
Yeah.
got to feed it more. And so anyway, I'm like, you can't believe everything that you read out there. You got to trial and error your own, what works for your house and what do you keep your AC at and all
Yeah.
the things. So I'm still
Have,
learning.
have you tried doing kombucha? I did some kombucha for a while. I was doing my own and did it for probably about 6 months and bottling it and getting it to where it was fizzy naturally. So it was kind of hard to get all that in. But one thing you also have to be careful of on kombucha, which I kind of knew about it, but I didn't think I was going to hit it, is it can get an alcohol content. And I remember there was a glass of it I was drinking one day, like a wine glass, and it was a really good apple flavor. And I'm just in cinnamon, and I'm like, this is so good. And I get finished with that glass, and I'm like, man, this is the best ever. And I realized, I think that had an alcohol content, you know?
That's awesome. I have two last questions that I ask every guest, and then I've answered it myself. The first question is, what advice or words of wisdom would you give your 22-year-old self? You could go back in time
Gosh,
at 22 years old. What are some nuggets and words of wisdom you would tell yourself?
man, I remember when I was in my either late teens, early 20s, and I had a couple of friends that were talking about taking $10 a week or something and putting it in some type of weird account. And when they retired and they got to be like 50, which sounds like forever, they could retire. And I'm like, that is the stupidest thing ever. I don't have 5 or 10. I would put that money in that account. Compounded interest, I would have even going a little bit later in life, every house I ever owned, I would have never sold a single one of them. They would all be rentals.
Agreed.
I
Those
mean,
are pretty much what I said as well. I
yeah,
definitely would have told my 22-year-old self to get with a lender right away. Granted, you were going to have a job for 2 years and other criteria, but at least have that conversation with them so that I would have started earlier, even if it was just saving my down payment so that I would have enough money. I just wish that I would have started earlier than I did. And then
yeah,
definitely, I love the saving. I think anyone that's in a job that has a 401k whether their company matches or not, that you should do it.
yeah.
But I also think that you need to start your own real estate portfolio. I think that's so important because one of the questions that they had come up with that to ask you, the wave of the future, like, I don't think the American dream anymore is to be a homeowner. I don't think that's the great American dream anymore.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. I
I
think
see. I watch a lot of trash TV. That's my thing. Okay, and we were watching was it Passion Island or one of those, Temptation Island, and it was the end result. And one of the couples was saying, "I never thought I needed the white picket fence," and they're in their late 20s, and they're like, "I look forward to the two dogs, the kids, the white picket fence." So I don't know. I have faith in this generation coming up now that yeah, the generation before them, I don't think so. I think
right.
lifetime renters is okay, but I think we're cycling back into where the American dream is the two-car garage, the family, the stay-at-home mom, maybe that would be great, or the working mom where you're okay having kids and having the white picket fence and living that more traditional life. I
Yeah,
see a lot of that.
I'm happy to hear that because I would love to see that as well. I can't say statistically, and I don't have any proof, but
Yeah,
I felt like we were moving away from that being the American dream, which is to own a piece of property.
we were, but I think it's cycling back around with the current generation
Well,
that's
good.
coming in.
That makes me happy. That makes me happy. So my last question is, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, you should have given me these in advance.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I,
But I kind of like the off the cuff, like thinking about it, like it
I,
challenges you. And what do you want to be remembered for?
I can tell you what I don't want to be remembered for.
Okay, that works.
I don't want to be remembered for spending the majority of my children's lives while they were growing up working. I've always worked a lot. And my daughter, one of them has those same afflictions, and she works for me. We have to try and set boundaries with each other to remind each other to take time off work. I want to be remembered for being a great husband, a great father, a great grandfather. I've got 4 grandkids. Someone as a mentor that you can look up to.
Yeah. I think you're already living that. I know you've encouraged me. I had written a little class that I need to finish getting my
We got to talk about that, so don't worry.
So I need to work on that. I think, honestly, there's a little fear behind it of not
Yeah.
knowing what to expect or doing it wrong or whatever. And I need to
Well,
just
I
do it.
I heard feedback from some people that went to the class you did that was kind of like the beta version of it without it being an official class.
Correct.
And they really enjoyed it. They're looking forward to a little bit longer version of it.
Good. Yes. And I think that's it. It's not, the actual topic is not this huge thing. It literally can take not 5 minutes, but it's not, yeah. So again, I need to work on that. That is on my bucket list, and I promise to make that happen sooner than later.
Okay.
But thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And I hope that people have a better understanding of what you do, because I love, you do so many things real estate related, but you also have this fun, the farm, and just pretty cool stuff going on. So I just think
Yeah, I'm not always serious, meanie person.
and I don't see you as a serious mean person. So I don't see that side of you.
Thanks so much for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for hanging out with me on Bits by Bacon. Be sure to follow, leave a review, and send this to that friend who always wants the inside scoop in and around the Houston area. I'll see you next time with more stories, real estate talk, and a little bit of everything in between. And remember, everybody loves bacon.